So, of course, we got a little interrupted there, but one of the things I was asking you was, when can we expect to shop at your location? When do you expect to do the ribbon cutting? I know that it's some time out.
Yeah, it is. It's the process in Massachusetts is very lengthy. We've been at it for 2 years now. We had a little bit of a delay with our first location, and we're hoping within the next 9 months. So September is the kind of like the launch date, with fingers crossed. We started demo. We've had the place gutted. We are applying for our city permits to start construction, but we're also concurrently doing the state licensure process so that we can stay ahead of the game and really be ready to hit the floor running and have all the permits in place and ready to go once the state gives us a thumbs up on our architect plans.
Okay, so I'm hearing 2024 and beyond. That's
Yes, Q late Q3, early
okay.
Q4, 2023. But yeah, come on back up in 2024 and bring a crowd.
Yes, yes. Well, I mean, I might be up there sooner than later. I heard there's a social consumption lounge opening next month and black owned called Apex. I'm sure you've heard of it or familiar.
Yes, it's
So
a friend Tito. He's amazing. He opened the dispensary. It's the first of its kind. It has a cigar bar. It has a restaurant upstairs. It has edibles company on one of the levels, and he has a full service dispensary as well. It's like 5 levels of
what?
excellence. It's black owned. He is also a politician, or was a politician.
Really? That's dope.
He was a city councilor in the city of Boston. He ran for mayor in the city of Boston. He's a pretty amazing guy.
I got you. Well, I definitely got to come up there now because I got invited to the grand opening, and I was
Awesome.
like, hey, I might come on back down there. But now I definitely have a reason. I went to Summit Lounge. Summit Lounge was a great experience. I know that they had long held the mantle for like the only one in the state. But yes,
No, absolutely. And I'm not sure that he's fully social consumption just because those regs are not even defined in Massachusetts. But it's nice to have a black owned establishment where you can actually support the cannabis industry and support the people who have been most impacted and belong in the cannabis industry. I mean, this is a son of Roxbury, the heart of the city of Boston. So you should come up, and I'd love to see you there as well.
yes, for sure. I appreciate it, and I'll definitely make sure to hit you up. I know you're not far from Boston, so
Yeah,
yes.
I'm a city girl. You're gonna find me in Mattapan any day of the week.
Yeah, okay. I got you. I got you. Well, one of the things that I wanted to ask you was you came from the health space. What got you into the cannabis space? I mean, what exactly brought you here?
So essentially, I started my relationship with cannabis a little under 10 years ago. I actually was going through a divorce and having a baby at the same time. And after this is my second child, and I grew up, my mom's a pastor. So just, I'm going to give you that. My mom's a pastor. I come from an immigrant family. We moved here in the 90s, late 80s, 90s. There, the war on drugs was big. It was the big propaganda happening at the time. My mom was very clear: cannabis is bad. Don't touch it. We don't do drugs. We don't play with it. We can get deported. We can get sent back. This is our opportunity. So in my home, it was like no cannabis at all. Like I remember, losing friendships with people because I'm like, oh, you smoke weed. I don't do that. I don't get around it. And going through therapy
Wow.
after I had postpartum really bad, and I was having a really hard time. And my therapist said, "Have you ever considered cannabis?" Because I could not sleep, and I was having really bad insomnia. So I actually started my
Wow.
journey with cannabis as a patient, and it I feel like it saved my life. Like not only did I start sleeping, but I realized that I had a little more balance, and the anxiety of being a single parent, like a new single parent, was like decreasing, and I just could do things a lot better with a lot more focus. and I was just a micro dose consumer. I always tell this story that I got because I had no idea. I knew nothing of cannabis, and my weed guy, because I was in Georgia, I couldn't get it legally. So my weed guy would sell me one blunt for $20, and it's like now I'm looking back like he got me. Okay, he was giving me a little
That,
skinny blunt for $20.
well, it was also pricing then. Like I don't remember how many years ago. How many years ago was this?
This was like almost 10 years ago. And I mean, and
Oh no,
if you,
that was the price. Yo, I remember splitting point fives with like 2 or 3 people. You know what I mean? Because point fives back then of some fire were like $20, $15, $20. So
really? Oh
yeah,
my,
that was true pricing. He wasn't jipping you. I mean, trust and
I'll tell
believe.
you,
You can get some Reggie like for way less than. But like I remember for like a good gram, we were easily paying like 25, 20.
insane. See, I had no
So
idea. So I assumed, and again, he could have been giving me the worst weed ever. I had never smoked it. So I didn't know, but I would take two little puffs and I would fall asleep. And it was like magic. So then I started getting more educated, more sophisticated. And when I came back home, um, in 2015, it was like I was in a city. It was a thing. We were in the middle of like legalization that came around the corner the next year. So it became it was in the rec market. Everybody was getting their medical card. And I just kept consuming and becoming more educated about consumption and wanting a safe way to access it. I was still in healthcare. I was still very much a professional, so I had to be mindful of my, consuming and medicating with
absolutely
cannabis,
sure.
my job and my career. But then, 2 years ago, we were out in Vegas. Of course, Vegas has a really amazing rec market right now, and we were just talking about how do we build a legacy for our family, right? And it was a group of friends, and we were like, let's just start a company and let's do this, let's pursue this. And out of all those conversations came out our company, Build a Life Legacy, which is actually the company name for the dispensary. And we just started charging forward. I'm a project manager by nature. So I just started reading, getting into the regs, attending every meeting I could, talking to the community, finding out what the pain points were for everyone, finding out what they wanted to see it look like. Mattapan, I think I shared this with you when you were at the dispensary location. It is one of the most entrenched communities. It's very diverse. It has 70% minority home ownership. It's
That's
and
huge. I do remember that was big. That was big.
that's huge. And I grew up on those streets, and I live on those streets. My kids play sports in Mattapan. So I cared about what the community had to say about what they would like to see in terms of a shop coming to the community. And I think that was a big differentiator for our team. We spent a lot of time talking to the community. I mean, again, we're very entrenched in the community, so it was easy conversations. I'd be at my son's football practice. I'll talk to all the moms. I'd be, down the street at the grocery store. I'll talk to the patrons. It was a lot of community conversations and talking to our leadership. Our state representatives were very engaged in the conversations. We spoke to clergy. We just wanted to know what would a successful shop look like in this community, because this community has a lot of roots and it has a lot of people who are here for a very long time. And we wanted to honor and respect that.
And though there was a few great things you hit on. One, I appreciate that your therapist, she gave you holistic options, right? And presented holistic options to you. Because as you said, your complete perception on cannabis was different. Before this time, before this soft recommendation. And so I appreciate that aspect. The second thing I would say is I really appreciate that you are opening this flower shop and this cultivation, um, I guess machine. We're calling machine cultivation machine. You're opening that up in the area that you've grown up in. So I think that it's important because like you understand some of the nuances in that community, but you also know the members of that community and they intrinsically know you because they've grown up with you.
And that was important. That's important because a lot of people are threatened by cannabis. I mean, we had community meetings where people said, "You're selling reefer. Oh my gosh, people are going to be, there's going to be the homelessness is going to go up, and there's going to be people loitering and blowing reefer outside of the store." And they didn't understand that this was like plant-based medicine. I mean, my mom was like, "You're selling crack," and I was like, "Mom, it's not. It's a plant. Like, let's start with it's a plant." And I mean, we're a large Caribbean immigrant community, and plant-based medicine is part of our culture. And
Absolutely.
we don't embrace cannabis as plant-based medicine because we look at it as a drug, and it's not. It's a plant, and there's so many benefits to it. So one of the things we want to do is focus on topicals and accessing the plant in ways that are not threatening to our community. A lot of people don't have a lot of topicals on their menu. They don't have teas. They don't have products that are geared towards the elderly community and their ailments, because that's not who's coming to the shop, but that's who surrounds us. So it's important to me to be able to have my mom and her friends come in and get some balms or shea butters or lotions that will help their arthritis, that will help their joint pain. And it's better than anything else. I mean, so many people are on so many meds. And if you could just take a tincture to go to sleep, that's an alternative that's holistic, and it's clean and it's safe. And I think we need to start introducing this to our elders.
Hey, I'm glad you said that, because that brings me to the next point, right? Of just like bringing it to the elders. A lot of what I have done is education around what THC is, what CBD is, and education specifically to senior groups, right? Because like senior groups, a lot of times are over medicated, right? And they a lot of times are people who could use this holistic plant-based medicine, because as we know, a lot of the opioids, they break down your body even faster, right? And we know that in your body you have your endocannabinoid system, so you already have cannabinoids working, in which these cannabinoids that you would take in from CBD or THC, further just help you, interact with your body. And so like that's what I've been kind of introducing seniors, and seniors are very receptive, especially to CBD, because it kind of weans them on. I think CBD is like that thing to wean them on to THC if they so choose to do it.
No, absolutely. That's exactly how I introduced my mom to the plant. I said, just try CBD first. And if it helps you sleep, then use it. And if it helps you with your joints, then use it. So I given her topicals of CBD. We have a shea butter that we have with THC in it. And when she's in a lot more pain, she uses that. But it's my mom doesn't want to smoke. My grandma, my aunts don't want to smoke. They just want to feel better, and they want to get off all these pills, right?
And that's okay, because you could do it in many different forms as you educate.
Yeah, and I think educating the elder community is a priority for me, and it should be a priority for a lot more people, because they need and they deserve to experience the benefits of the plant.
I agree. And so like, you know, I'm gonna put this out there, right? I have a friend of mine, right? And this isn't me, but I do have a friend of mine, and he claims that Massachusetts has the worst cannabis. So like, you let me know your opinion on that. I want to take it back to him. Like this, like I said, it's not me. I had some decent one with Major Bloom. I will say that. Shout out to
Yeah,
Major
shout out
Bloom.
Maker
Uh,
Bloom.
Yo, yo. But this is what somebody said, because I believe that Maine has the best cannabis, in the U.S. and specifically East Coast. But he said, well, I know who doesn't have the best cannabis, and so is there anything to defend Massachusetts? Put them up there on what you got.
Oh, listen, we got some genetics in the lab right now that are killers. We're coming out with hitters. We are coming out with hitters. We somewhat agree. The big companies that transitioned into the rec space are growing cannabis like they would be growing corn, right? They don't care about terpenes. They don't care. They're just putting out volume. All they care about is SKUs. They're just putting out weed. And yes, it's trash. Most of it is trash. There's a lot of craft growers that have
Yes,
fire. There's a lot of people. And we,
I love the craft, bro. Yes, yes,
I'm
yes.
telling you in particular, we went to where we know. We went legacy, and my head grower has been doing this in the legacy space for 8 years. And my goal is to transition as many legacy operators into the legal market because they belong there. And that's exactly what we want to do. So
Yes,
I went to my plug and I said, plug, grow me some weed. And we got some fire coming out of the lab right now. Genetics that people are not seeing on the East Coast as much. Like we're launching with Oreos, white truffle. We have super runts in the lab. We have our own
Okay.
genetics. We have some clone.
Oh, I need a cultivation tour next time.
You need,
You
yeah, you need to come see the farm.
got
I'll
okay.
have some stuff for you. You absolutely. I'll let you tell it. And I'll let you bring it to your friend and let him tell it again. Cause we got
What?
fire.
How far is the cultivation? Is it in the same general area or?
No, the cultivation is 2 hours west. It's in Coleraine, Massachusetts. What you don't
Oh
want to
my.
do is spend the overhead of rent and electricity and power costs to grow weed on the eastern side of the state. So we have 170 acres in Western Mass. We're building out a 16,000 square foot facility, and then we have 40,000 square feet of outdoor grow that's going in the ground this spring. And
Wow.
we're very excited. Yeah, this is, and there's very few women owners in this space. I
Yeah.
only know two other women CEOs that are in cultivation. There's no one that looks like me in cultivation, and it's wild because we are the nurturers of the land. Like Black women are like we are connected to the earth. Why are we not the ones putting plants in the ground and growing them? And I've met a few across the states, but there's really not that many. So it's a unique position to be in, to be leading a company that's growing, and we have standards that were set by the legacy market. I'm not comparing my flower to what's in circulation right now. I'm comparing it to what will people come into the store and not talk trash to me about. Because just like your boy told you, we have the worst weed. If I come out with bad weed, my people are gonna tell me too.
Yes.
I got to rep in the
Yeah.
streets. We got to keep it real. Like I am still outside in the community, and they will say
Because you're
your
a
shit is trash.
community person. You're not just commercial. You're not just a commercial
Yeah,
person that we're not going to see. You're a community person.
absolutely.
Well, I mean, there's a great things. One, I like that you brought up the legacy market. I like that you're prioritizing the legacy market. That is great. One of the things that I could say that is similar to Maryland is the fact that it's cheaper to cultivate on the Eastern Shore and in Western Maryland. That's where you would see most of the cultivation facilities. A lot of time, real estate is cheaper. The utilities are cheaper, and also the people coming from that communities are willing to work for less. Um, that is the bottom line, and that's what I've seen. Because that's one of the questions that I've asked is like, why isn't there more in Central Maryland and Southern Maryland, of course, which are very blacker areas, especially. So yeah, I mean, it makes complete sense that it was cheaper, um, and more cost efficient.
Well,
So
there's things in
thank
place
you.
to make this industry difficult, right? We have the tax code 280E. We can't write a lot of stuff off. So if your overhead is not manageable, you're not gonna do well. You're not gonna survive. There's so many people consolidating because they had these huge facilities and they can't offload their weed. This is so what happened in Massachusetts. It's we had these big players that had all these big facilities that were pushing out all this flower and thought that they could just survive because they were the biggest supplier. Dispensaries are more owned by locals. There's a lot of dispensaries that are owned by smaller groups, families, people who are really cannabis connoisseurs. They care about the quality that they put out. Nobody's buying trash and putting out trash. So there's a lot of companies that cannot offload
Yes,
they have vaults full of weed in Massachusetts right now. And this is the moment where it's shifting. So all the craft growers are being sought after, but there's not enough supply from the craft growers. So if you want to keep your margins up and your numbers as a dispensary owner, you either have to secure your supply chain and have your own supply chain so you can keep consistently good product on your shelves, or you really have to have really great partnerships or and push those things out. But craft growers have like 5,000 square feet of space. They're not putting out 50 pounds of weed a month. That's for the big dogs. And the big
exactly.
dogs are putting out 50 pounds of bad weed. And nobody wants to buy that. And the people who are buying that are people who are really that I have folks that are just coming in that are curious and they're not really they're not true consumers and they don't really care where they get their weed or if it's any good. But the
Exactly.
consumer is getting more sophisticated and people are getting more educated and we have to match that. And I think I mean, we started with a dispensary and that's how we ended up branching out into cultivation because I was like, I don't want bad weed on my shelves. How do we secure that?
Hey, you don't want that
I
moldy stuff. You don't want that moldy stuff.
No, so guess what? If I don't want bad weed on my shelves, then make sure I secure my supply chain and make sure I'm growing good weed so I can sell good weed.
For sure. I
Yeah.
mean, and that's great because I don't think I heard that you were earlier that you were dispensary and then cultivation. So it was great to hear your progression.
Yeah. No,
Do
absolutely. I think,
you?
go ahead.
No, the one thing I was going to ask is Massachusetts allow you to be vertically integrated. Do you have a processor or can you obtain a processor or is that of interest?
No, we also have a manufacturing license. So we are allowed to be vertically integrated in Massachusetts. And that's why we took advantage of that opportunity. We will grow our own plants, we will process our own plants, and we will package our own plants. And then we have both distribution through delivery because we're eligible for a delivery license, being that we're a social equity owned company. And we're also have the brick and mortar store in the city. So we've secured our supply chain because we wanted to survive, right? And people don't think
Absolutely.
about what happens after. So my hope is that we build an ecosystem in our state where all the smaller growers, we're all doing business with each other so that we survive. Let the big dogs play the big dog game. I'm not fighting trash weed. That's not even my lane. I'm looking at what
True.
can we do to build these ecosystems of the smaller growers, family owned grows, and keep our ecosystem thriving.
That makes sense, and I appreciate that. You know, one of the things that I wanted to ask you was, I'm not sure if you've seen the show, but we have, of course, some rapid questions, and
Yes.
so the rapid questions are, just ways for the people to get to know you, and you don't have to think as much, right? Very simple, very kind of fast responses. My first question to you would be, what is your favorite strain and why?
My favorite strain right now is Mandarin Cookies. It's a sativa. I love a good sativa. I'm a runner. I like to smoke before I run. I like to consume before I run. And it just gets me in the right space. It's like a 5 hour
Nice.
energy shot.
Yeah, what's that terpene that opens your lungs that is good for like working out. I forget what the name of it is, but I thought you might have known. But uh, what was my next question? My next question is favorite superhero and why?
My favorite superhero, me. because
Yes,
I'm
it
a
is Black History
mom.
Month.
That's why. Because
It is
mothers
Black
are
History Month.
superheroes.
It is Black History Month, and you are a can of mom.
Yes.
Doing it all. You're a lady boss.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yes. For being a
Uh,
mom.
yes, exactly. Well, I'm a dad, so I understand being a can of parent is important. um, because of course, like there's that stigma that you can't be a responsible parent and be a cannabis consumer. That's completely false, as we know.
Cannabis makes me a
Um,
better mom.
you said what?
Cannabis makes me a better mom.
Swoop. Exactly. And my last question for you was, who would you say that you look up to as inspiration, in the cannabis space? I know there's always people we look up to, but who would you say is one of those solid inspirations for you?
This is an interesting one because this person is a lot younger than me. Precious Osage Ereze from New Jersey. I literally, when I started this, I literally slid in her DMs and we had a 1 hour conversation and she put me on game and she's my mentor. She's my young mentor. She's a diva. She's moving and shaking. She runs, she's with the MCBA. I love that girl. We touch
That's who runs the MC. Okay, yeah, I've definitely seen
she's
her
doing
name.
she does communications for them, and she's just a boss and I love her. I look up to she's focused, she's driven, she's everything I would have wanted to be when I was her age. And I talk to her a lot. I ask her a lot of questions. I rely on her, and I love me some Precious.
Ah, thanks for the shout out. I'm definitely gonna look forward to connecting with Precious.
You should.
Um, you know, yes, exactly. Well, hey, you're the link. You gotta connect me somehow. Definitely,
Absolutely.
definitely plug me in for sure. I'd love to meet more great people in the space and tell people how they can stay connected with you.
Absolutely. I'm on Instagram. I love Instagram. I don't know if that's for old people now, but I love Instagram. I am Dru underscore Canna Queen on Instagram. You can also find our companies, Flower Express, and it's at Flower Express underscore MA. and then the pot, and it's called the Pot Boston. So it's at the Pot Boston. I'm also on LinkedIn, Dru Ledbeater. Let's connect. Let's do business. Let's talk. Let's network. I love to connect with people who are like minded, who are thinking about the plant in a holistic way, thinking about the industry in a way that's sustainable for us and building an ecosystem for Black and Brown owners. I look forward to connecting with folks.
Thank you so much, Dru. As she said, she's doing a lot of great things. I hope to see you in Mass soon, and definitely, have a great rest of your weekend.
Absolutely. Thank you. Thank you for having me. I appreciate you.
Yeah, see you soon.
Awesome.
That was Dru. Of course, as I said, I had a great time in Massachusetts. I look forward to my time back in New England. But as you see, there's great people doing some great things, especially in the cannabis space. So stay tuned. See you next time, guys.